Hello and welcome to this channel. This is an original fiction audio image book. If you are new to the channel, you're welcome. Stick around for amazing stories, and if you like our content, please like, share, subscribe and leave your thoughts in the comment section below. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell.
The Childhood of the Earth, Chapter 15. First War on the Earth. With the first ray of dawn falling on the earth, the mountains opened their eyes, shaking off their tiredness. As if still sleepy, air was moving lazily through the trees and mountains. The trees were dipping their branches in river waters and sprinkling themselves with water. Everybody was happy, and life was full of joy. Air, in the form of a beautiful girl, fearful of slight tremors of the earth, went over to a huge tree and asked, "Dear friend tree, do you think that the great calamity that shook the earth in the past shall occur once again?" Assuring her, the tree said, "Dear air, the river asked the same question yesterday. You should not be unduly worried. Whatever happens, that happens for good. Creation, destruction, and again creation takes place for the benefit of living beings." "But aren't we aware of how grim devastation had taken place?" the air said. "Our friends, dinosaurs." The throat of air was choked with emotion. "Hey, mad girl," the tree said. "The dinosaurs are very much amidst us, in the form of birds." A flock of birds flew above them. Meanwhile, the river appeared as a graceful girl and said, "Air, we must always be prepared for troubles and pain." The tree had explained everything yesterday. Yesterday, my mental condition too was similar to yours. The air and the river embraced jovially. The earth, relieved too, appeared and turned towards her friends with equal ease. Seeing the earth, the air welcomed her and said, "Earth, you are becoming more and more beautiful with each passing day." However, the earth did not seem to be as much pleased. She looked a bit confused. In fact, the earth looked as beautiful as a pregnant woman. "Dear earth," the tree said, "you still seem to be sad. The air and the river too were as upset as you are. I have told them what I had told you. They have been relieved. But what has happened to you?" The earth said, "I feel a bit uncomfortable. I have terrible uneasiness. I feel we should call for Omarya." Everybody agreed with the earth. All those present shut their eyes and meditated. The next moment they were shaken. A loud blasting bang was heard. The quake, the demon created by Hojimoto, shook the earth at several places and frightened the living beings. Several large mountains trembled furiously. The layers beneath the earth got separated, collided at several places, and new mountain peaks emerged. Several mountains collapsed. Hojimoto and his companions were watching this scenario from their cave. Hojimoto observed that although the living beings were getting frightened, but a lot of them were not getting devastated. The living world was not sustaining heavy casualties. In the cave, Hojimoto was thinking hard. He began pacing up and down. Suddenly, he conjured up a sinister thought that larger the area of the earth comprised of water bodies. Hence, he would be able to destroy the aquatic life. Hojimoto, Wopsur and Krotham reached a place where the rivers met the ocean on the earth. They saw that the ocean, in the form of a well-built man, sat surrounded by 5 to 6 young beautiful girls, which were rivers. Smoking sardonically, Krotham said, "Hello, ocean. You have great time on the earth, huh?" Disturbed in his romantic moment, extricating himself from the embrace of the rivers, foaming, Ocean went over to the three demons. The rivers too followed the ocean. Seeing strange characters before him, the ocean growled loudly. "Who the hell are you all and why have you come here?" Giving introduction, Wopsur said, "Here's our most powerful lord, Hojimoto." All the three demons were much taller and colossal than the ocean. Taking a step forward towards the ocean, Hojimoto indicated Wopsur to keep quiet, that he was going to talk. "Ocean," Hojimoto spoke evenly, "I want to use you for destroying the life on the earth. A monster called Tsunami will be evolved through a combination of your and my power, and the life on the earth will be ruined. In any case, Ocean, you are ruling over 3/4 of the enormous part of the earth. If you assist me, you will be able to rule over the remaining 1/4 part too. Grinding his teeth, the ocean hissed. Heinous Hojimoto, what the hell you thought before you came here asking for my help? Glancing at the rivers, Hojimoto said, Look, ocean, if you don't help me in destroying the life from the surface of the earth today, with the passage of time, a human beings will be evolved, and when the rivers would be rushing to meet you, they'll erect obstacles in their path. Grinning mildly, the ocean said, Idiotic, Hojimoto. You think the man will be able to make the rivers forget their path? One of the rivers spoke up from behind. We won't need anyone to direct us to meet the ocean. Soon, another river came forward and said, We just have been flowing down with our consciousness that there is our dear ocean. Taking a step back, the ocean said, That's my good luck. The ocean gestured at the rivers. The rivers understood the gesture. They attacked upon Bopsur and Krotham. The ocean assaulted Hojimoto, but the three monsters were much powerful than the ocean. But the three monsters were much more powerful for the ocean. Hojimoto clutched the ocean by the neck and lifted him up. In the same way, Krotham and Bopsur too held the rivers by their necks, one in each of their hands. Other rivers retreated at the hint of the ocean. Maliciously, Hojimoto said, You aren't aware of my power. You haven't assisted me. Now face extinction. All of a sudden, the three monsters vanished. The river's faces showed some fear, and anxiety was etched on the face of ocean. On the other hand, Hojimoto began working in the nucleus of the earth. A few drops of the ocean water were clung to the massive hands of Hojimoto. He extended the same hand into the nucleus furnace. Within a fraction of a moment, turbulence was stirred up in the ocean. From the byproduct of the ocean, a treacherous monster called Tsunami was born. The ocean too could not understand as to what was happening. The situation was not under the control of the ocean. The destructive waves of tsunami began moving slowly and stealthily. As soon as they neared the coastline, they took enormously huge shape of waves and struck, which resulted in thousands of living beings being pulled away to death. After that, as if nothing should lack in mass destruction, Hojimoto produced eruption of the earthquake, volcanoes and tornadoes as the torchbearers of mass annihilation. Rampant tyranny reigned everywhere on the earth. The living beings ran helter-skelter. Anarchy prevailed among the living beings. Several small and big animals and birds fell prey into inferno. When Omarya and Anant reached the earth, mass of smoke was spiraling up. Eerie calm prevailed everywhere. All the elements of the earth came over to meet Omarya and Anant. The ocean told them everything about Hojimoto. Omarya soothed their ruffled feelings and said, Anant, Hojimoto, who used to fight face to face, now engineers such sinister plots from hiding. Anant and Omarya scaled the length and breadth of the universe in search of Hojimoto. All at once a thought occurred to Omarya that there is always darkness just below a lamp. Hence, Hojimoto must be hiding in the darkness. They came back to the earth and entered into the entry point of the depths of the earth. Traversing their path through red, hot and scorching rocks and molten metal mass, they sneakily went deep to the core of the earth. There they saw that Krotham and Bopsur were trying to awaken ferocious giants to spread destruction on the earth, but Hojimoto was not in sight. Omarya told Anant, Before killing Krotham and Bopsur here, we must silence the giants like tsunami, earthquake, volcano and tornadoes spreading rain of terror on the earth. He thought up of an idea. Coming upon the earth, Omarya and Anant met earthquake, tsunami, tornado and volcano wherever they were spreading terror on the earth and explained, What are you all doing? You have been born out of the womb of the earth, hence the earth is your mother, and you are giving her trouble? The persuasive technique of Omarya and Anant worked very well. Very soon, they were calmed and went to sleep in the lap of their mother. The earth and all the elements heaved a sigh of relief. Anant and Omarya too returned to the residence on the devious star. In the main hall, they asked Narayan and Mahadevi how the monsters of Hojimoto were pacified so soon. Then Mahadevi explained to them that although the monsters were created by Hojimoto, they had within them the elements of the earth. Therefore, they could not be as iniquitous as Hojimoto. That is why they were soon convinced of your talks. Madevi went into an opposite room. When she returned, she had a sword-like weapon in her hand. Well, are you ready for your next battle? Handing over the weapon to Omarya, she said. You will need this to destroy Hojimoto. This weapon has been created out of the essence of Labro. Hojimoto is still fearful of him. Taking blessings of Narayan and Madevi, Omarya and Anant left for the earth. On the other hand, the earth was anguished to learn that Hojimoto made use of her womb to produce such destructive monsters. The river, air and the tree tried to reassure her. In the massively large cave, Krotham and Vopsur informed Hojimoto that the monsters produced by them have gone into a permanent sleep in the lap of the earth. Hearing this, Hojimoto became terribly furious. Making use of the gravitational force of the earth, he pulled meteors and comets revolving around the universe and then created an army of cruel and repulsive friends. He developed dangerous weapons using the metals. On the other hand, Omarya and Anant began preparation of the battle. All the elements of the earth expressed their desire to join them in the battle, but instead of involving them all in the battle, Omarya chose huge mountains so that the fiends could be killed by throwing rocks upon them. He involved thorny trees, sabari tigers, lions, rhinoceros, huge elephants, and wild horses from among the wild animals. Meanwhile, a large army of the deities too descended from the sky. The god of death told Omarya, "We too would like to join you in the battle." Omarya welcomed them affectionately and thanked them. The deities made the elephants and horses their means of movement. Omarya told Anant and the god of death, "Please proceed towards the west coast of the sea with some of the gods. A massive snake lives there. The tongue of the snake is very long, thin and sharp. It will be helpful in mass devastation of the demons. For this, you may have to cut off the tongue of that snake." "That will be great joy!" Anant's voice exuded excitement. Anant, the god of death, and the four gods left for the west coast of the sea. As they had strategized, Anant climbed up on the large rocks on the coast. The god of death, standing in the waters, made a cut on his right hand's thumb with a knife and walked ahead, submerging his bleeding thumb under water. Blood oozed out and began spreading in water. The gods accompanying him watched around attentively. A little distance from them, some movement took place in sea waters. A thick wave of sea from the sea waters moved swiftly towards the gods. From a distance a long, thin, thread-like, sharp tongue appeared from the waves and swirled around a god's torso and cut him off into two parts. One of the two pieces of the body and the tongue disappeared in the depths of the water, whereas the remaining part of the body floated on the surface of the water. Startled, the god of death and other gods jumped in the air. Just at that moment, a massive snake appeared from the depths of water closer to the large rocks and flung his long tongue at the gods. They jumped up in the air. Immediately seizing an opportunity, Anant jumped off the massive rock, cut off the tongue of the snake. Anant and the gods jumped in the sea water to pick up the tongue. The snake, groaning with pain, disappeared in the water and was drowned. Cuts were made on the palm of Anant and gods due to the thin tongue. Heaving a sigh of relief, everybody turned to walk towards the coast. The god of death was winding the coil of tongue in his hand. The gods looked at the tongue. Although the tongue was flexible, but it seemed much stronger. When out of water, they observed several shadows in the opposite direction. They turned to look back and saw that several snakes had surrounded them. Anant asked, "God of death, do you think just one tongue would be sufficient?" Mrityudev called out, "Rush behind the rocks!" All of them ran and took shelter behind the rocks. Just as they vanished behind the rocks, 8-10 tongues lashed the rocks. Some of the rocks were broken into small pebbles, but the gods were saved and left the place quickly. Carrying the tongue of the snake, Hojimoto's army was from a dreadful deep valley. Cruel-looking and ferocious giants and fiends of almost 10 to 12 feet high were hurtling forward. Some of the monsters were seated astride fearsome wild animals. All of them were howling wildly. Saliva was dripping from their mouths. The monsters were uprooting whichever trees were in their path. On their path, they were catching and eating up whichever animal came across them and were coming forward, spreading devastation everywhere. Omarya buried the snake's tongue on the battlefield from one end to the other. On either side of the battlefield, each of the tongue was tied with a group of 4 elephants each. The gods, sitting astride on the elephants, awaited a signal from Omarya. Apprehensive atmosphere spread in all 4 directions. As soon as the monsters entered a vast battlefield, enormously large rocks came hurtling down the sky and fell on the monstrous army. At a time, 8 to 10 monsters were crushed to death. For a moment, the monstrous army were awestruck. Very soon, large and small rocks rained incessantly from the sky. The demons were getting crushed under them. It was clearly seen that from the opposite direction, Omarya's troops were arriving. The colossal massive rocks from the mountains, coming dragging along the troops, were rolling over the monsters. Roaring and yelling furiously, Hojimoto's army ran forward at great speed. Omarya signaled the gods, sitting astride the elephants. Immediately the gods made the elephants run in opposite directions, and the tongue was pulled out from the ground of the battlefield like a straight line. The gods directed the elephants to charge at the army of the demons. Before the demons understood, the moving line of the tongue began cutting the demons from their waist. In order to save themselves from this strange attack, the demons ran helter-skelter. Some of the demons sat slumped on the ground, but in doing so their necks were chopped off. On either side of the battlefield, the elephants were running rapidly. If any demon jumped up, their legs or hands were amputated. Watching the tongue rushing towards them, Krotham hurled his massive weapon towards the tongue. The tongue, tied on either side, was snapped from the center and flung on either side. With that, the elephants tied with them too, taking 5 somersaults, were catapulted away as they lost balance. The pieces of the snake's tongue too fell on the battlefield. By that time, the tongue of the snake had killed several demons. Now the remaining demon got an opportunity to strike back. Both the armies ran over each other and a terrible battle was let loose. Krotham and Vopsur mercilessly attacked Omarya's army. Omarya's army too did not succumb on the assault. The glittering weapons wielded by the deities were smashing and chopping off the bodies of demons. Several fell wounded and many of them died. Several more demons died than the deities. The god of death, seated on an elephant, pierced his javelin with a mighty blow through the throat of a monster. Blood splattered out like a fountain. With a violent jerk, the monster fell on the ground. Immediately, his wild demonic beast pounced on the elephant and struck to the head of the elephant. The elephant was shocked. It didn't expect that the beast would attack it. With all its might, the elephant lifted its trunk, but the beast chopped meat off the trunk with its sharp teeth. The elephant let out a painful cry. By the time the god of death became cautious and struck the demon beast, it pounced on him. With wide open, cruel mouth, the beast attacked the god of death. In a fraction of a moment, a javelin was flung that pierced through the forehead of the beast, and the wild beast slumped down to the ground. Anant had thrown the javelin. The god of death thanked him. A Sabari tiger suddenly pounced on Vopsur, but taking quick steps with one blow, Vopsur beheaded the tiger. Having seen this, Anant rushed at Vopsur with alacrity and thrust his weapon through the mouth of his wild monstrous beast. Vopsur and the beast both came crashing towards the ground. Getting up, Vopsur saw Anant and he said, "We have a lot to settle between us, but you are still very young, Anant." In order to avoid injuries to his horses, Anant dismounted from the horses and asked, "Why did you go into hiding out of fear at the Great War of Universe?" Just to incite Vopsur further, Anant challenged him. "If you had come to the Great War of the Universe, I would have smashed you to death. And where's your friend Krotham? If you can save yourself from me, then only you can meet Krotham." Vopsur called back, growling, and plunged upon Anant. But jumping quickly to one side, Anant saved himself. The attack of Vopsur was wasted. Soon Anant lapped up an opportunity to strike Vopsur's neck. His neck almost broke loose. On the other hand, Krotham picked up a mighty strong horse by its hind leg and flung it towards the mountain. Then soon he saw that Vopsur, gasping and struggling to breathe, went dead. This enraged Krotham, and he rushed violently at Anant. "Now only you were left behind," Anant shouted. Krotham's eyes were steadied on Anant, but blinded by the animosity Krotham did not see. Omarya getting close to Anant. Grabbing his opportunity, Omarya threw a weapon that slashed Krotham's body into 2 equal pieces. "Good shot!" Anand cheered. Watching this, other monsters began maintaining distance from the two brothers. At that moment, Hojimoto twisted the thick neck of a gigantic rhinoceros with his mighty hand. Soon, Omarya and Anand reached the spot. Omarya pulled out the weapon given by Madevi. Hojimoto was alerted. Both the brothers fought chivalrously with Hojimoto. Hojimoto was not a timid fighter either. Both the brothers were striking forcefully and peeling the body of Hojimoto. Hojimoto had become real desperate now. Seeing his hostility, both the brothers didn't want to leave him alive. Now, enough of playing and fooling around, Anand called out. Let's finish the game! With these words, Omarya thrust the weapon in the belly of Hojimoto. It passed through his body. Hojimoto cried aloud violently. A bright red light spread from his stomach. All those surrounded were blinded. Omarya and Anand too were blinded for a moment. I'm leaving now, Hojimoto growled heavily. Perhaps you will be able to remain unaffected by the wicked influence, avarice, passion, anger, deceit, greed, anxiety. But Narayan, son, that very wicked influence will definitely spoil your loving earth and the human beings born of your essence. But before that, we will entirely destroy you. The god of death arrived there and thrust his weapon in the chest of Hojimoto, lying on the ground. That won't leave you too unaffected. With these words, Hojimoto turned into ash. With that, his army too turned into ash, and the battle came to an end. The deities and the living beings cheered happily at the death of Hojimoto. Omarya and Anand, accompanied by the deities, reached their residence on the devious star. Madevi, Narayan and Blesspa expressed their pleasure, and the victory over Hojimoto was celebrated.
Thank you guys for watching this video. For more videos, you can visit our channel. Please like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to turn on the notifications. Comment your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll catch you in the next part. Till then, bye.